Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring to the stage the keynote speaker. He's a senior programs director for USA Funds. And USA Funds is one of our ultra VIPs when they helped us out by sponsoring some things. And I want to say thank you for his contribution and his organization, USA Funds. He's a senior programs director responsible for assessing landscape for USA Funds. He was previously served as a vice president for the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities Office of Access and the Advancement of Public Black Universities. He also served as senior advisor to Assistant Secretary of to the president of Dillard University in New Orleans, and as a management and program analyst in the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education at the U.S. Department of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, Lorenzo Esters, Senior Program Director, USA Funds. How about making some noise?
Good afternoon. And thank you for that introduction. I am delighted to be here with you this afternoon, and USA Funds is pleased to sponsor this event as a major sponsor for the summit. I have great respect for the culture and the norms of the Native American community. As an African American, I believe that our futures or our past are shared in terms of dark past. But I believe that working together, our futures are brighter if we work together. You can go ahead and clap to that. I'm a product, as you heard him say, of historically black colleges and universities. Historically black colleges and universities have so much in common with tribal colleges and universities. TCUs are remarkable institutions, and they often go unrecognized for the great work that they do every day, despite the wonderful work that you do. So where are the tribal college presidents, those presidents in the room? Would you please stand? Would you join me in giving them a round of applause for the great work that they do every day? Thank you very much. And I had a wonderful opportunity to visit with a few of them this morning about our work and how we may work together moving forward. So I am totally inspired by your theme this afternoon, strengthening communities. There is no better way, in my opinion, to strengthen communities than to ensure that there is the power of education for Native Americans. So obviously, I would like to talk with you about USA Funds, about our focus, why I think what we do is so critical to our nation, and why I think it is so important to Native American communities and other underrepresented populations. So for those of you who may not be familiar with USA Funds is a nonprofit corporation that has worked since 1960, the last 55 years, to enhance preparation for, access to, and success in higher education, with a particular focus on low-income and underrepresented students. During the past half-century, USA Funds has supported over $250 billion in support to about 22 million students and families to support their education. Over the years, our mission has stayed the same, but the focus of our work has evolved. And today, USA Funds has adopted completion with a purpose as our guiding principle. You may know that former Deputy Secretary of Education, Bill Hanson, joined us as our CEO in July of 2013. Clearly, college completion rates must improve. During the past 20 years, more than 30 million students have entered the post-secondary system and have yet to receive a diploma, whether that's a bachelor's degree or a two-year associate's degree. A sadly remarkable statistic, given the growing need for highly skilled workers, as you heard the Lieutenant Governor talk about earlier today. So at USA Funds, we aim to help students, especially those from underrepresented populations, to finish what they start. And just as important, we're working to ensure a smoother transition from education to employment, not only for high school graduates, but also for adult learners and for our returning veterans. We know that too many recent graduates are struggling to launch meaningful careers. So let's look at the reason why most students go to college. Are there any students in the room? Students, make some noise. All right. As a recovering former vice president for student affairs, I love to be around students, right? Because they keep you young and they keep you in the know. So surveys show that the majority of students who pursue post-secondary education, I'm sure the students in the room will agree with me, do so to earn the so-called wage premium that is associated with the degree. What is the wage premium? It is essentially the difference in how much an individual will earn over his or her lifespan if they had earned a high school diploma versus earning a bachelor's degree. The wage premium equals the additional income a worker can expect to earn because of that degree. So as we take a look at this slide, you will see what I'm referring to. So according to income compiled by the U.S. Census Bureau, on average, the holder of a bachelor's degree can expect to earn $2.4 million over his or her lifespan. And that's assuming the individual lives for at least 40 years after earning the degree. A worker with just a high school diploma can expect to earn $1.37 million before retiring. That means the wage premium for a bachelor's degree is $1.05 million, or about 77% more than a high school diploma. But going to college doesn't guarantee the $1 million wage premium. How much a college grad can expect to earn depends on his or her choice as a major also. As you see on this slide, according to the Census Bureau, hypothetically and high rounded numbers, as you'll see here, the wage premium for an engineering major is about $2.2 million. The wage premium for a business major is about $1.4 million. And then a bachelor's degree in psychology is about $600,000. So of course, these projected wage premiums assume students complete their bachelor's degree and find steady work in positions that require those degrees. But the anticipated wage premium are evaporating for far too many of our college students. There are two groups in particular who are vulnerable: those who drop out of college and those students who do graduate but are unable to launch their careers in their chosen field of study. How many of you, by show of hand, know someone who has some college but no degree? According to recent statistics, there are about 36 million individuals in our country in that category. So at USA Funds, we're tackling something that we call the 40-50 challenge. Next slide, please. So that's why USA Funds is working to tackle this challenge. We want more students to finish what they start when they enrolled in college so that they can be the best or get the best return on their investment in education. What is the 40%? So the hard truth is that far too many Americans are enrolling in college but failing to complete their education. At least 40% of students who enroll full-time in a baccalaureate degree program do not complete within 6 years. That 40% statistic actually masks a much larger issue for this audience and other audiences who represent underrepresented populations, the economically disadvantaged, and for community college students. So let's look at the non-completion rates for minority students who enroll in bachelor's degree programs in the fall of 2007. According to the U.S. Department of Education, for example, 60% of Native American students failed to earn their bachelor's degree within 6 years. 60%. Completion is an even bigger issue for community college students. Nearly 81% of first-time students who enroll full-time in community colleges and other public two-year colleges fail to earn an associate's degree within 3 years of their enrollment. So the completion data compiled by the Department of Education do not take into account transfers and other students who stop out and then come back to complete their degrees. So in short, more than 6 in 10 students in community colleges will be degree-less in their mid-20s. 6 in 10 students who start there. So despite the fact that a post-secondary education degree can help break the cycle of generational poverty, and despite efforts that have expanded college access for disadvantaged students, the ratio of higher education haves versus have-nots is getting worse. So this trend does not bode well for American society or for underrepresented populations. So at USA Funds, we see an urgent need to address the nation's low college completion rate, especially for disadvantaged groups. Now, what is the 50% challenge? The 50% challenge is those students who have completed college, but who say, based on their own standards, that their degrees have not measured up, or if they could do it all over again, they would choose a different major. We have a special interest in this population. In fact, about half of those graduates are struggling to achieve their intended goal of launching their career. Granted, millennials found themselves entering a workforce during the recent recession and slow-going recovery, but I would call a less than robust economy doesn't appear to be the only culprit for why individuals are underemployed. There are job openings, as you heard the Lieutenant Governor talk about earlier, for workers with more than a high school diploma. Based on government data, we can estimate that more than 1.3 million of some 4.9 million job vacancies currently available require at least some post-secondary education or training. Yet somehow 50% of those graduates remain unemployed or underemployed. The other part of the 50% challenge is that about half of the graduates surveyed in a recent report from McKinsey and Company said that they would have chosen a different college or a different major if they could do it all over again. This finding is symptomatic, in my opinion, of a disconnect between what employers believe they are delivering and what their customers, both the students and the prospective employers, believe they are getting from our institutions of higher learning. On the next slide, you will see the survey by the Gallup organization. They found that 96% of chief academic officers believe their institutions are preparing their students to succeed in the workplace. However, the same Gallup poll found that only 11% of employers strongly agree. Again, the chief academic officers, 96% of them thought the students were receiving the training that they need. Only 11% of the employers felt the same way. So the business community is telling us that employers value knowledge and applied skills more than where prospective employers went to school or even what they majored in. So employers value knowledge and applied skills. So a separate survey, as you see here on this slide, conducted by Gallup and the Lumina Foundation, asked the same business leaders to rate the importance of 4 factors that are used at evaluating job for candidates. So 98% of those executives rated the depth of knowledge as important or very important. 95% said ability to apply their knowledge and skills was important or very important. 70% said a candidate's college major was important or very important. And in contrast, 54% or so said their diploma came from, where the diploma came from was not important. So high college dropout rates and lackluster career prospects for half of our nation's college graduates do not bode well for the U.S. economy. So at USA Funds, we're working to address what we call here on this next slide, the leaky pipeline. What we essentially have to address is what I'm sure you've heard before, our plumbing problem. There are leaks along the way through education to employment. We need to staunch these leaks so that all students, but especially low-income and minority students, can realize the promise of their higher education. We need to fix these leaks, not just to benefit these individual students, but also because it is vital to the future of our economy and the social vitality of our nation. According to Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce, by the year 2020, our nation's employers won't be able to fill 5 million jobs because they won't have candidates with the post-secondary credentials that are required to fill those jobs. So solving this 40-50 problem that I've talked about is precisely what USA Funds has adopted as our strategic focus, especially in our philanthropy and our policy work. We're supporting initiatives, which I've talked about earlier today with many of the presidents here, to help more students obtain their degrees and then go on to pursue rewarding careers and fulfilling lives. We are focusing not only on improving education to career pathways for high school graduates, but also for helping workers who know they need to go back to school in order to improve their career prospects and earn that wage premium that I talked about earlier. So over the past year, we've made about $25 to $30 million in grants to focus on these initiatives that we believe will help more Americans complete college and successfully launch meaningful careers. So I want to briefly highlight for you several projects that we're supporting and illustrate how we're approaching the 40-50 challenge. So this slide here is a little busy, but it summarizes our approach to completion with a purpose. And I'd like to walk through this very briefly with you. So we're working to smooth the pathway to education, or from education to employment. And we do this by improving the dialogue between employers and educators, and by supporting work experience through internships, apprenticeships, and the like, throughout a student's education experience. We believe that new technology, partnerships, and processes hold the potential to improve the delivery of higher education with better outcomes for students at more affordable costs. We also believe that it is critical to support students, especially those from low-income backgrounds, through key milestones along the education pipeline. So those key transitions from high school to college, from 2-year to 4-year, and from 4-year to employment. USA Funds is working on several initiatives to improve the data that's available to students and parents so that they make informed decisions, but also to improve the data that higher education institutions use to make more effective decisions in serving low-income students or underprepared students, such as predictive analytics, etc. So in the upper left corner, you will see the who. You see the student populations we are most interested in supporting. There are 4 major populations we're interested in. At-risk students, those students who are not making it through the pathway through education to employment, low income, many of whom are minority, etc. Then there's a focus on what we call disconnected youth, those youth between the ages of 16 and 24 who are not in school and who are not employed. We're seeking to either connect them with an education credential to get them back into college or help them secure a job so that they can have fulfilling lives for themselves and for their families. And then those who have completed some college but have not earned that credential. And then lastly, those who have completed college but are stuck in jobs that don't measure up to their own standards, and they need additional training to do so. In the upper right corner, you will see the what. The what represents the channels of our activity. So we're seeking to work with national organizations, especially those representing state and local government leaders and employers. We're also working directly with state governments and municipal leaders because we believe there are several states that have taken leadership to test promising innovation in delivering post-secondary education. And perhaps North Dakota should be one of those states, or can be one of those states, that partners with USA Funds. So finally, we're working with associations and consortia of colleges and universities because we believe that we're meeting at an institution of higher learning at the lower level, if you will, because I'm in charge of this portfolio for our institutional engagement. So let me talk a little bit about what we're focusing on in working with institutions. We view innovation as important to education. So in our post-secondary institution engagement strategy, we're seeking to drive key innovations. And there are 2 or 3 ways that we're defining innovation. How do you use technology, and how do you develop partnerships to support, or more effectively support, low-income, underrepresented students with three major outcomes: that decrease time to degree, that enhances career development, and ultimately lowers costs for all students. So we seek to challenge existing structures and programs to offer substantive solutions to the challenges of today's students, especially low-income students. We believe that well-informed grant-making, which we're seeking to make, can and should act as a catalyst for systemic change and innovation in promoting college success and career readiness. So we think we've made a start towards redesigning the path to career in college, but our ultimate goal is to ensure that students do graduate from high school ready for college-level work, take at-risk students so that they don't drop out of college, that newly minted college graduates are career ready, and that 36 million working Americans that I talked about earlier are able to connect or reconnect with training that they need to succeed in the workforce. So we look forward to working with you, tribal college administrators, tribal leaders, and students to realize this vision for completion with a purpose. And before I close, I'd like to leave you with a poem that was written by Beah Richards. Beah Richards was a famous African-American actor from Vicksburg, Mississippi, my home state. And the poem is titled, Today, Today, Today. Today is ours. Let's live it. And love is strong. Let's give it. A song can help. Let's sing it. And peace is clear. Let's bring it. The past is gone. Don't rue it. Our work is here. Let's do it. A world is wrong. Let's right it. The battle hard. Let's fight it. The road is rough. Let's clear it. The future vast. Don't fear it. Is faith asleep? Let's wake it. Today is yours. Let's take it. Thank you. Julie, I think I promised that I would take any questions, or did you? Sure, okay, in that case. Thanks. Sure, I'm happy to do so.
Do we have any questions for this young man? Huh? Questions? Going once, speak now, forever hold your peace. All right then. At this time, we're going to present this blanket to this young man here. And these women want to put it on you and say thank you. And also, he'll be around. You'll be around. If you have any questions, please just notify him and ask him. Please don't grab him and pull him aside. You might scare him. How about a round of applause? Okay. We're going to move right along because I put us behind by giving you a break. But we want to bring our first panel up. Les Fontaine, professor at Turtle Mountain Community College. Tracy Zephyr. ESQ, Fredericks Peebles Morgan LLP. I don't know what any of that means, but come on up, my good friend Tracy. I have known Tracy forever and one day. And also Lorraine Davis. Lorraine, are you around? Lorraine? Me and Lorraine had a moment outside about our history with her husband. Scott's a good friend of mine. Lorraine Davis, is the executive director of Native American Development Center. And This panel is totally loaded, man, I tell you. And the moderator is a man that needs no recognition whatsoever. He is in his 4th month of CEO at the 3 affiliated tribes. And those of you that don't know, we somehow